A very good afternoon to our viewers and welcome to another exciting program, Home Study on Eswatini TV. I am Nogwazi Dlamini and as always, I am never alone. I am with Lerato Mabilisa. Lerato, how are you doing this afternoon?
I'm great this afternoon. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you very much. Lerato, since like I said, it's going to be an exciting day of learning today as always. Please can you remind our viewers what they are learning today?
Well, Form 3s, Form 5s and Grade 7s, your subjects are as follows. We have mathematics for the Grade 7s, and then we have religious education for the Form 3s. We have English language for the Form 3s, and then we have mathematics for the Form 5s, and then lastly we have English language for the Form 5 learners again.
It's going to be a jam-packed show as always. And just to remind the viewers about our social media platforms, we are live on YouTube right now and we are also live on Facebook as well. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask anything related to the subject that's being learned on our WhatsApp number.
Emphasis on please do not call.
Yes,
please do not call, guys, because we will not answer. No.
All right, Grade 7s, I hope that you are ready. Lerato Mabilisa will be right back with you with the Mathematics Grade 7 teacher, Sikhumbuzo Mabaso. We'll be right back.
COVID-19, yes, the coronavirus. It is now our daily talk. It is now our everyday breaking news. I think it's high time we all come together and make sure we bring an end to this. Cause we can't sit down while it's still taking over. Let's all follow all the precautions given by the health department so that we can protect ourselves and also protect others.
I just wash my hands before I touch. I just close my mouth before I cough. And I just close my mouth before I sneeze. And I don't go to parties, that's a risk, yeah. I see.
I wash my hands before I touch.
I see.
I close my mouth before I cough.
I see.
I close my mouth before I sneeze.
I see.
I don't go to parties, that's a risk.
I see. People going through a lot. I see. Coronavirus is a threat. I see. I don't go to parties, that's a risk. I see. I close my mouth before I cough. In case you're wondering, just wash your hands in case you handle things, and then keep an eye if you sneeze or cough, gotta keep it covered. I mean, who am I? Just a person living, wanna see you living, cause I value life. Eswatini, raise up, we gon' fight and conquer, cause we really got this. I see.
I wash my hands before I touch.
I see.
I close my mouth before I cough.
I see.
I close my mouth before I sneeze.
I see.
I don't go to parties, that's a risk.
Believe that some of the people you know can never be trusted at all. You gotta be cautious. Wash your hands more often. Can trust everything that we touch. And when you sneeze, you gotta make sure you cover your mouth, but not with your hands, cause you do not know who you gonna touch or what you have touched before all of that. Avoid meeting up with too many people for your own good and everyone else. You gotta make sure you keep it all clean. Watch how you maneuver, look after yourself. A hand sanitizer won't kill you. Make sure that you use running water. Just think of our brothers and sisters in the country and the ones that are outside the borders. Yeah.
I see. I wash my hands before I touch.
I see.
I close my mouth before I cough.
I see.
I close my mouth before I sneeze.
I see.
I don't go to parties, that's a risk. Let's all come together and all say, not today, coronavirus.
Welcome back, viewer, to the first lesson of today, and we are doing mathematics with Mr. Sikhumbuzo Mabaso. Also joining me in studio are our sign language interpreters Linda Mamba and Tobile Faguze. I am your host, Lirato Mambilisa, and the topic for today is constructing a 60-degree angle. Am I correct, sir?
Yes, you are so correct.
Good afternoon
Yes,
and welcome to the show.
Afternoon, Lerato. How are you?
I'm great today. So, since the topic for today is constructing a 60-degree angle, what would you like the viewer to have learned by the end of the lesson?
Okay, by the end of the lesson, the viewers must be able to construct the 60-degree angle. With to construct is a bit different from drawing, because some might think it is just one and the same thing. Yet it is done by different instruments.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you very much, sir. Without wasting time, please take us through.
Thank you so much, Lerato. Maybe let me greet the learner at home. Today we're back again with mathematics, grade 7. We are going to take construction of a 60-degree angle. As we know that angles are made of lines, we are going to start our lesson from dealing with a line, bisecting a line, where we'll be revising our skill of using a pair of compass. Okay, now as we have said that we are doing the construction of angles, I would like us just first of all to look at the rationale. Why do we learn the construction of a 60-degree angle? It is very important to learn it because one thing is that angles are so useful in construction of buildings, welding, and many more activities that that human beings do on earth. Most of them we make money using them. All right. Let us look at maybe the vocabulary that we are going to come across. First of all, we have a radius there. A radius, it is said that is the distance from the center to the circumference of a circle. Then we have an arc. Arc, it's any curving part of a circle. We call it an arc. We also have a bisect. We have a word that is called bisect. It means to divide into two equal parts. You can bisect a line, an angle, or many more. These are very important. First of all, let us look at how to bisect a line. That is our very first step. A line, as I said, that we are going to start from a line, as an angle is made of lines. We simply just draw a line of any length of your choice, e.g. it can be AB, line AB, which is equal to 7 centimeters according to the one that is there. Line bisecting, it is the mathematical way of finding a midpoint on a line. Let's look at step 2. Open your pair of compass more than half of the line. The sharper part of the pair of compass should be pivoted or swing on A. Draw an arc above and below the line. Step number 3, we say that we step number 3, put the sharper part of the pair of compass on the other end of the line. That is the point, or point. This is on B, and make another arc that cross the first arc above and below your line AB. Okay, here is we make the other arc that cross the line, the first arc, which is This is the second arc, and the other arc that is crossing the first arcs. Okay, now after making those arcs, what you have to do, you draw a bisector that will connect 2 points marked by the 2 crosses of the arcs. Label the line bisector a bisector, which means that line that is drawn there, it has got a name, and the name of it is a bisector. We then say that what you should note is that the point where the bisector crosses the line AB is the midpoint of the line AB. That is how we get the midpoint in a line. All right, now let us look at the construction of the 60-degree angle. We do have the 60-degree angle. We have to construct it by using the following instruments: a pair of compass, pencil, and a ruler. The learner here should note that even from the first, we didn't use the protractor, and we are not using it because we are constructing here. We are not drawing. How to draw the 60-degree angle? The first step is that it's, as I mentioned, that we start from a line. An angle is made of lines. You have to draw a straight line. The straight line, and label it to be AB. After that, we move on. You place the pair of compass. You place the sharper part of the your pair of compass at A. Draw an arc. We have to draw an arc using the radius. Here you must note that we are using the radius AB. When we say that using the radius AB, we mean that the opening of your pair of compass should be equal to the line AB. Okay. Then after drawing that arc, we place your pair of compass on the other end of the line that is on B, using the same radius as in step 2, and draw a small arc that cuts the first arc at a point C, which means where the 2 arcs are crossing each other, we give it a letter C. Okay, then after crossing the arcs, what we should do, as in step number 4, you draw line AC to form angle CAB. Okay, here is the line AC in our angle. That is the line that is completing our angle. Okay. It should be the A should be connected straight to the point where the 2 arcs are crossing each other. Okay, the angle that is formed there, we say that it is equal to 60 degrees. Okay, the angle that is formed is equal to 60 degrees. You can take your pair of, your protector, just to check how big is the size of that particular angle. Your protector is going to give us exactly 60 degrees angle, which means that our method is correct. Okay, after having given you these skills on how to construct, in fact, not drawing, how to construct the 60-degree angle, let me give you an activity, something to do so that you can put the skill that I've given you into practice now. Here is an activity that is, I'll request the viewer at home, the learner at home, to do it right now. We are going to give you some time just to do the construction a little bit. The activity is and angle ABC is equal to 60 degrees. Using a pair of compasses, ruler, and the pencil only, construct an angle ABC. 2, you'll have to bisect the line AC. Okay, maybe let me give it back to Lerato for a while you are busy constructing there, doing your homework.
Okay, sir. Can we take a break, dear viewer, and then when we come back, you give them the answer to the activity.
Yes,
so please tackle the activity. Then when we come back, Mr. Mabaso will give you the answer.
Litiko letempilo kwesixwayisile ke ngesifo lesivelile kulamalanga coronavirus COVID-19 bagcizelela kakhulu ke kuhlandeka kwetandla lokumcoka ukuthi itandla digezwe nawugeza tandla ke bashilo ukuthi digeze lokungenani ama seconds lam20 ngemanti lagijimako lanesifo lokunye ke labasixwayise ngako ukuthi latingalweni lingahlala leligciwane udzinga ukuthi letingalo nato utiwashe ungashintsha itandla kuphela for 20 seconds nalamkhathi sinetandla ugeze nakhona litawufa ligciwane kanjalo. Ngiyacela ma-loyal viewers geza intandla nihlale ekhaya nihlale niphephile sitayinqobe i-COVID-19.
Now, from the moment it was announced that there will be no sporting activities due to the ongoing COVID-19, we all felt that. But imagine how much work you can do in your house just using your chair. It could be anything you have in your house. Take a look at this. From my own chair, I'm able to exercise 30 minutes per day, from biceps to triceps to my abs. But what are you waiting for? It is doable, it is possible. I'm able to do all the work. No matter how much time it will take me, I will stay active. Now, if you're a soccer player, an athlete, a gym instructor, anyone who loves exercising, use this time. It is doable in the house, in your own time. Stay safe. Together, we'll win this war.
Imidlalo yonke imisiwe eveni. Hlala ekhaya utivikele kulesifo iCovid-19. Lokumcoka ukuthi uhlale ekhaya. Sitawudlala imidlalo uhulumende sekazivumela.
Kulesikhathi lapho khona umhlaba ula nemkhuhlane iCoronavirus, uhulumende kwakuleli ucele wona eMaswati ukuthi akahlale ekhaya alandzele timiso nemihambo yenhlangano yemhlaba emhlabeni. Kanike ngabe mbukeli ukuthi ngakala ukuthi uphume uye ekhaya ngoba ke uye emsebentini. Hlala ukufake iface mask. Kanike ngabe kubita ukuthi ukhwehlelela emkhonweni. Sitawubonana mbukeli mayibuya tona temidlalo ngabe sitawulandzela tona tinqumo ta hulumende. Stay home, stay safe.
So lokukhutsatwa kona ke ukuthi hlale ekhaya uhlanzekile ugeze tandla.
Keep fit, stay home.
Ungayi ngaphandle kuyodlala imidlalo.
Hlala ugqoke iface mask.
The basic protective measures against the new coronavirus. Wash your hands frequently and thoroughly with soap and water, or use alcohol-based hand rub. Maintain social distancing. Maintain at least 1 meter distance between yourself and anyone who is coughing or sneezing. Avoid touching eyes, nose, and mouth. Hands touch many surfaces and can pick viruses. Once contaminated, hands can transfer the virus to your eyes, nose, or mouth. From there, the virus can enter your body and make you sick. Practice respiratory hygiene. Make sure you and the people around you follow good respiratory hygiene. This means covering your mouth and nose with your bent elbow or tissue when you cough or sneeze. Dispose the used tissue immediately. If you have fever, cough, and difficulty breathing, seek medical help early. Stay home if you feel unwell. Follow the directions of your local health authority. Stay informed and follow advice given by your healthcare provider.
Welcome back, viewer. You still tuned in to Home Study and you are still watching Eswatini TV. We are still learning mathematics with Mr. Mabaso for the grade 7 learners. Mr. Mabaso, there's a question from the learner. The first question is, how do you bisect a line? And how is bisecting important? And then the second question is, please repeat step 3.
All right. Let me start by the first one. The first question that says, how do we bisect a line? Bisecting a line is very easy. I said first of all, you simply have to draw you have to draw the line. Number 2, I said that you open your pair of compass more than a half of your line. If more than half of your line, okay. For instance, according to this line, if we can just look at this line AB here, the pair of compass was opened more than half from A, maybe until this point here, okay. This, when you look at the distance between A and from A to the end of the highlighted piece of the line, it is more than half of the line AB. Then you bisect the line by making 2 arcs. One arc should be above the line, the second one should be below the line, as we see the 2 arcs there, okay. Then I said that we have to move on to the without changing the radius of your pair of compass. You do what? You put it, the sharper part, you put it on a B. There is our B there. You put it on B where it will be pivoted. There, without changing the radius, you do what? You make another arc that is going to cross the first arc. The arcs, that is the arc that is highlighted there, that is crossing the first arc there, which is we drew in the previous step. And you do it on both sides of the line, above and below the line. There is the first arc that we did there, the second arc there, okay. There are these 2 points that are very important, that are marked by the arcs. Where the arcs are crossing each other, it marks important points there. Those are the 2 points that we have to join. We join the 2 crosses of the arcs, okay. That is how we bisect a line, by joining the after making the arcs, we join those 2 arcs, crosses of the arcs. The point where the bisector, we name the line that we draw after that connects the 2 arcs, we call it a bisector. We name the line a bisector. It marks where the line crosses the line AB. The bisector crosses the line AB is the midpoint, or is the midpoint. It is the point that marks the how can I put it? That marks the center of line AB. Okay. I hope viewers at home, learners at home, they are appreciating it. And another thing that I think I've answered the question that says how can you bisect a line. Now maybe let's move on to the next question. By the way, what did the learner said is the, I think I'm left with one question.
Well, the other question is please repeat step 3.
Yes, I should repeat step 3. All right, step 3 on constructing of an angle. All right, step 3 says that you place your pair of compass on the other end of the line, that is on a B. Okay, here is our pair of compass. We have to put it at the end of the line A, B, which is B on B. Okay. Once you put it there, you pivot your compass, you put the sharper part of your compass on a B, then you make an arc that is going to cross the first arc. Okay, here is the second arc. It crosses the first arc where just below C there. Okay. After that, what you mark, you label the part, the point where the arcs, you label the part, the point where the two arcs are crossing each other. That part, we gave it a name, C. Okay. And that C, step number 4 says that draw line AC, which means we connect the point that we have marked there by C to point A. Okay, that forms the 60-degree angle. When we look at this angle here, it makes 60. It is a 60-degree angle. Okay, I think I have exhausted all the questions, Lerato.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Mamaso, for updating the learners. Please, can you now continue with the answer for the activity that you gave them before the break?
Oh, thank you so much. Oh yes, learners at home, I gave you an activity to do just to put into practice the skills that I've already given you about construction of 60-degree angle. There is that activity that I gave you there. I hope everyone at home has got his own or her own drawing. Let me show you the diagram, how it was supposed to be. We do have there the diagram as an answer. We have an angle there which is 60 degrees after construction. This is 60 degree angle that we have drawn after construction. Okay, now, and this topic or question, when you look at it, it is joined together, the skill of bisecting a line and the skill of constructing a 60-degree angle. Okay. This is the answer. Your diagram should look like this if you were so accurate to these skills. Maybe let us, without any further waste of time, let me give you the conclusion. Let me sum up everything that I have already given you. Okay, we said that to one, you draw how to construct a 60-degree angle. You first of all, the first thing that you have to do, it is you draw a line. You draw a line and label it. Number 2, you place the pair of compass, the sharper point on one end of the line. Draw an arc. First an arc by using the radius AB. That is to say, the opening of your pair of compass should be equal to the line AB. Okay. Place your pair of compass on the other end of your line. By using the same radius, draw an arc that cuts the first arc at point C. After that, the last step that you have to do, you do what? You draw line AC to form an angle CAB, which is equal to 60 degrees. I hope you have. This is a summary of everything that I have, of the skills that I've given you. Now let me give you a homework, something to do at home as you are there. Here is your homework that you will use in order to practice the skills of construction. Let me hand it back to Lerato.
Oh no, sir. One of the viewers says the picture is not clear, so please can you say the words out loud so that they can catch up with you.
All right. All right. One of the learners is complaining about the pictures that are not clear. Here we have especially in this. Let me focus on this in the answer. We have the 60-degree angle there that has been constructed. That angle is angle CAB. Okay. And we have also bisected the angle there by using our skill of bisecting a line. Okay. I hope there is what they wanted to see. Maybe let me maybe highlight something on the conclusion, the summary there. We said that for one to be able to construct a 60-degree angle should be, it start by drawing a line. B, we focus on the placing, the position on where you should place the pair of your compass. We said that the compass, you place the pair of compass at the sharper part of the pair of compass on one end of the line. Then you draw an arc by using the radius AB, which means the opening of the pair of compass should be equal to the line. Okay. Then we went on to say that place the pair of compass on the other end of the line to do what, so that you can make another an arc that will cross the first arcs. By using the same radius, draw the arc that cuts the first arc at point C. The last step, that is where we draw line AC to complete our angle, the angle which is CAB, and is equivalent or equal to 60 degrees. I hope with this is the end of our lesson for mathematics today. Here is the homework for the learner at home. They can pick it and make a screenshot or whatsoever, but they will find it. It is so interesting.
Okay, so one learner is asking what page the homework is on.
According to their books, I may not be able to state the page now, but it is an angle. The topic says constructing a 60-degree angle. That is where the homework has been taken from.
Okay, thank you very much for being with us today, sir, and thank you for the great lesson. Learner at home, up next is Nogwazi Dlamini, who is coming with the next Form 3 teacher. And Form 3s, I hope you guys are ready, because next up is Nogwazi and the Form 3 teachers with the Form 3 lessons.
Ligciwane le-corona lincane kakhulu, angeke ulibone ngemehlo enyama. Kuze liphile lidinga kunamathela kubantu. Leli gciwane lingena melula emphumulweni, emlonyeni kanye nasemehlweni. Ligciwane le-corona alikhethi, lingesuka kithi thine bantfwana liye kubatali kanye nabothishela. Lisengesuka kubo litekithi. Indlela yekulimisa leli gciwane kulivimba kuthi lisuke kulomunye liye kulomunye. Uma umuntu athimula noma akhwehlela, leli gciwane lihamba kanye nalamathonsi laphuma kuloyo muntu. Uma uthinta lapho athimulele noma akhwehlelele khona, uyalibutha leli gciwane. Uma ke uthinta impumulo, umlomo noma emehlo, livele lingene kuwe. Ngakho ke umthetho wokuqala, umthetho lomkhulu. Geza tandla takho ngemanti lagijimako nangensipho njalo njalo. Uma uthimula, thimulela engcoseni yakho. Ungaqala ufake imino empumulweni. Dikhweshise kulabanye bantfu ngesigaba lesiyimitha. Kepha lokusebenta kangcono kakhulu, uhlale ekhaya. Uma sihlala emakhaya, leli gciwane alikhoni kuhamba.
Eswatini sibambisene kulwa nekwanza kuligciwane le-corona.
A very good afternoon to our viewers and a very warm welcome to those who have just joined us. I am Nogwazi Dlamini and this is Home Study on Eswatini TV. Right now, it's the Form 3's turn to do religious education, and joining me in the studio is Nomfundo Dlamini. Also joining me in the studio is our sign language interpreters actually, Linda Mamba and Nompumelelo Hadebe. Nomfundo, how are you doing this afternoon?
I'm good, Nowazi. How are you, Sissy?
I'm good, I'm great. I understand that today we're doing prayer and arrest.
Yes.
All right, could you tell us what you are expecting your learner to have learned by the end of this lesson?
Yes, I'm expecting learners to have learned the importance of Jesus' prayer before his arrest.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. From threes, I hope that you are ready for your lesson. And just to remind you, we are live on YouTube and on Facebook. And if you have any questions, please feel free to use our WhatsApp number to ask those questions related to the subjects that are being done at the time. Nomfundo, I'll let you start with your lesson.
Thank you, Nowazi. Yes, dear learner at home, today we are looking at Jesus' prayer before his arrest, as well as his betrayal and his actual arrest. By the end of this lesson, you should be able to give an account of the betrayal, of the prayer, betrayal, and arrest of Jesus. You should also be able to explain the significance of Jesus' prayer before his arrest. You should also be able to explain the importance of the kiss in which Judas betrayed Jesus, with. You should also be able to explain lessons learned from Jesus' prayer and his arrest. And lastly, you should be able to explain the nature of Jesus revealed in his prayer, betrayal, and arrest. So it is important for you to pay attention so that you are able to do all these things. I hope your Bibles are ready by now. Before we get into the prayer and arrest of Jesus Christ, it is important for us to first look at what Jesus taught about prayer, Jesus' teachings on prayer. So Jesus taught his disciples and everyone else, his followers, the importance of prayer. He taught that they should be persistent in prayer, and he also taught that they should pray without ceasing. Remember when he even gave them the parable of the friend at midnight, which taught the persistency in prayer. And also, you will remember, dear Lena, when we were looking at the Last Supper, Jesus made predictions about his suffering as well as his betrayal. So as they were having the Last Supper, he said to them, I had longed to have this meal with you before I suffer. You remember that. And then he moved on. As they were dining, he said that one of you was going to betray me, which is what we are going to look at today. And then you will also remember, my dear Lena, that we also talked about the Mount of Olives, Mount Olivet, we have said that Mount Olivet has a special significance in the Jewish community because this is where the Messiah was expected to merge. So it gave hope to the Jews because they expected that their freedom will come with the Messiah who will emerge from the Mount of Olives. And as a mount of olives, olives are fruits that represent peace. So it's a mountain of peace. And today in our lesson, we start by looking at Jesus praying at the Mount of Olives. Let us just look at the story together. The story is found from the book of Luke, chapter 22, verse 39 to verse 54. You will read the story. I'll just give you the key points. So Jesus went to the Mount of Olives, which I have highlighted in my introduction. He went to the Mount of Olives at night, as it was his custom. His disciples followed him when he went there. He told them to pray. He told them to pray that they may not fall into temptation. And after that, he left them. He withdrew from them about a distance of about a stone's throw. He knelt down and he prayed. This is the prayer that he said: Father, if thou art willing, remove this cup of suffering from me. Nonetheless, not my will, but your will be done. Yes, in this prayer, Jesus Christ was asking God to remove the cup of suffering. This cup. So this cup here means the cup of suffering. He was talking about the suffering that was right before him. Okay? And then after praying, he came down to his disciples. Unfortunately, he found them asleep. He woke them up to pray so that they may not fall into temptation. As he was speaking to his disciples, a crowd came to him. That crowd was led by Judas. He went to Jesus, he kissed him. And Jesus said to him, Judas, will you betray the Son of Man with a kiss? The disciples, seeing that crowd, the disciples drew their swords and asked Jesus if they should strike. Peter had already struck a high priest slave and cut his ear. But Jesus was not happy about this. He was so angry and said, no more of this. Then he healed the man. He asked them here, the crowd who had come to arrest him, if they had come to arrest him as though they have come to arrest a robber. He said in the book of Luke, why do you come to arrest me as if you have come for a robber, with swords and clubs? He said to the Pharisees and the scribes, I was with you in the temple day by day, but you never did this to me. But this is your hour and the hour of darkness. Meaning it was their time for the evil that they intended upon him. They seized him and led him away, bringing him to a high priest's house. They seized him and they brought him to a high priest's house. And that is how Jesus Christ was arrested. Let's move on then, dear Lena, to look at the significance of Jesus's prayer. Why was it important? We have read that he went to the mountain as was his custom. So it was his custom to pray. Secondly, it is important because it is commanded by scripture. So Jesus, as a Jew, he will live like a Jew. So scripture commanded all Jews to pray. So as a Jewish command, as a Jew, he had to follow Jewish commands. This prayer was also important because it brought Jesus closer to God. It is also important because Jesus was showing that he was leading by example. He said people should pray. So he was leading by example, praying, since he said people should pray. It was an armor for the cup of suffering, an armor to strengthen him for the cup of suffering that was before him. He needed strength for that. The prayer is also important because it revealed Jesus's identity, who Jesus was. Remember, he prayed at the Mount of Olivet, the Mount of Olives, where the Jewish hope for the Messiah is centered. All Jews expected the Messiah from Mount Olivet. So Jesus Christ praying at the Mount of Olives, you will note that there are so many things that have already happened at Mount Olivet. So it identified him as the Messiah. And lastly, the prayer was important because it was a confirmation of God's will. So in this prayer, Jesus Christ says, if Father, remove this cup. And then he moved on to say, but not my will, but yours be done. So if this cup of suffering was to take place even after the prayer, then it will mean that this cup of suffering was surely God's will. Okay? All right, then let's move on, dear Lena, and look at the importance of the kiss in which Judas Iscariot betrayed Jesus. Which Judas Iscariot betrayed Jesus with. As I was giving key elements to the account, I've mentioned that the crowd came led by Judas, who went straight to Jesus Christ to kiss him. What is the importance of that kiss? That kiss was to identify Jesus. So Judas used the kiss to identify Jesus, and that is the importance of that kiss. It identified Jesus. Why will Judas need to identify Jesus at this time? Remember, I have said it was at night. You know, when it's at night, and you have to see somebody, you have to know that person very well. For you to get the right person, you have to know that person very well. And Judas, being one of the apostles, he was with Jesus all the time. He has been with Jesus all the time. He knew Jesus Christ perfectly. And he knew the other apostles, so he will make no mistake. Okay. Let's move on then, dear Lena. We as scholars, we read works of other scholars. Okay. We are told that after the sharing of the bread on the Last Supper, they all looked alike. So if they all looked alike after the sharing of the bread, then it means it will be difficult for anyone who did not know Jesus Christ very well to identify Jesus Christ. So now they needed somebody who knew him very well, like Judas. So Judas came handy at this point. And lastly, this was pre-arranged. It was an arrangement that was made between Judas and the Pharisees and the scribes, the soldiers who came to arrest Jesus Christ. So he had told them that he will identify him by just kissing him. Yes, Nowazi?
I'm sorry to disturb you with your point. Can we take a little bit of a breather and we'll be back in a couple of minutes?
I will appreciate that.
All right, viewers at home, can we take a break? We'll be right back after this.
Wash your hands with soap and running water frequently to prevent COVID-19.
Avoid touching eyes, nose, mouth, shaking hands to prevent COVID-19.
Are you coughing? Are you sneezing? Or having headache? Make sure that you quickly go to the hospital. COVID-19 Corona. COVID-19 Corona.
Welcome back, dear viewer, and you are still tuned into Eswatini TV on our program Home Study. Right now, if you have just joined us, we're doing Form 3 Religious Education with Nomfundo Dlamini. Nomfundo, I just have two questions for you from your students. One of the questions is, what were the temptations Jesus told his disciples to pray not to fall into?
Thank you, Nokwazi, for that question. That's a very good question, Lena. But he never mentioned the temptations that he was talking about. He was just talking about temptations in general. Okay. It might have happened that he was talking about temptations in general. Secondly, Jesus Christ knew what will happen in the future. And then when you get to Form 5, dear Form 3s, then you will see the temptations that Jesus Christ was talking about.
All right, I hope that the learner was answered right there. The second question is, I think they need a clarification. Is it Mount Olivet or is it Mount Olives?
Okay, it's my mistake. I have used both. It means one and the same thing. It's the Mount of Olives or it's Mount Olivet.
All right.
Yes.
Okay. I hope that the students back home were answered perfectly with that with those two questions. Nomfundo, I'll let you carry on with your lesson.
Okay. Thank you, Nogwazi. Yes, dear Lena. Let's move on then to look at the lessons that we learn from Jesus's prayer and arrest. Jesus prays before his suffering. That teaches us to be prayerful as Jesus was prayerful. So we learn to be prayerful. We learn to have a prayerful life. Also, we learn that prayer helps us to overcome temptations. How? Jesus said to his disciples, pray that you may not fall into temptation. So that teaches that prayer helps to overcome temptations. As Jesus himself also was tempted by the devil after fasting and praying for 40 days, and he was able to resist temptation because he had prayed. Okay? The prayer, we also learn to depend on God for strength and support. This is what Jesus Christ also did. We have said that the prayer which he said before his arrest was an armor to strengthen him. So we learn that we have to pray to God for strength and support, as Jesus Christ also did. Also, we learn from the prayer to be resilient in everything and in every condition. We have to be strong, we have to be tough in all situations and in all conditions, especially those in which suffering is involved. Okay, let's move on then now, Lena, to look at the nature of Jesus Christ revealed in his prayer, in his arrest. Here we see the human and the divine nature of Jesus Christ. Let's start by looking at the human nature of Jesus. As a human being, he exhibits fear and anxiety. He prayed to God to remove his cup of suffering. That shows that as a human being, he was also afraid of what was about to happen to him. He was also afraid of what was about to go down. So as a human being, he feared, he had anxiety, and as a human being, you will also be scared if something bad was about to happen to you. So that shows the human side of Jesus. Also, as a human being, he showed anger, especially in his arrest. When Jesus Christ was arrested, his disciples tried to fight. They threw their swords. Peter even struck the slaves, the high priest slave's ear. But Jesus Christ was not happy. He was very angry about that. He said, "No more of this." The way he said it, it showed that he was angry. So as a human being, he became angry at times, and here he shows that human side of him by being angry at his disciples. Let's move on then, Lena, to look at the divine nature of Jesus that we see in his prayer in arrest. He's willing to suffer if it's God's will. He's willing to suffer if it's God's will. Even though he is scared as a human being, but his divine nature says, if it's God's will, it's okay. It has to happen. He does not try to run away from it. Or he does not pray to God to say, "Oh God, no, I'm sorry, I can't do it anymore." But he says it should happen if it's God's will. That shows his divine nature. Let's move on. He knew what will befall him. He knew that his time of suffering has come. He knew what will happen to him even before it happened. That shows that Jesus Christ was not an ordinary human being, but he was a divine being. Because if I may ask you, if you know what will happen to you tomorrow, the answer will be no. You are just assuming what will happen, or you are just hoping what will happen to you tomorrow. But Jesus Christ knew what will befall him. He knew that he was going to be arrested. He knew that his time of suffering has come. So that shows the divine nature of Jesus Christ. Yes, and also he healed the slave's ear. He healed the slave's ear, which Peter cut with his sword. That shows the divine nature of Jesus Christ. He was able, the ear was cut like it was down. He picked it up and he restored the ear as if nothing had happened to it. That shows that he was not an ordinary human being. Nobody will have those supernatural powers to do something like that except for Jesus Christ, who was not an ordinary being but a divine being. And also as a divine being, he did not want his disciples to fight. He understood that this was a spiritual war. He did not want his disciples to fight. He did not seek revenge. That shows that Jesus Christ was a divine being. Okay. Yes, having said all that, I have this piece of work for you to do as homework. Do you think the arrest of Jesus was justified? Give reasons for your answer and show that you have thought about different points of view. Do you think the arrest of Jesus was justified? Give reasons for your answer and show that you have thought about different points of view. Remember, learners, this is an evaluation question. So you have to take a stand. Yes, I think the arrest of Jesus was justified, or no, I think the arrest of Jesus was not justified, or I don't think the arrest of Jesus was justified. You take a stand and then you give reasons for that stand that you have taken. You give reasons to support your stand. You give reasons why you think it was justified, or you give reasons why you think it was not justified. And then the last part says, show that you have thought about different points of view. You take into consideration the fact that other people may think differently from you. So you tackle another side of the question. If you have said yes, it was justified, and you have given all your reasons for that, think of those people who will say no, and that is the different point of view. Okay, so that will help you in doing that work. To end the lesson, let's end by looking at what we have learned today. So today we have looked at the prayer, betrayal, and arrest of Jesus Christ. We looked at the importance of prayer. We looked at the importance of the kiss which Judas used to betray Jesus. We looked at lessons learned from the prayer, betrayal, and arrest of Jesus. And we also looked at the human and the divine nature of Jesus Christ.
All right, thank you, Nomfundo, for that very interesting lesson. And I hope the Form 3s really did get to listen and watch and learn and learn everything that you were saying there. Just before we finish the lesson, Nomfundo, can I please just ask you to just please go back to the assessment question and maybe read it out again for those who may have missed it.
Oh, thank you, Nogwazi. Yes, since it looks like we have some more minutes, I can even consider possible answers to the question, give you possible answers to the question. Here is the question. Do you think the arrest of Jesus was justified? Give reasons for your answer and show that you have thought about different points of view. Okay, I have said that you take a stand. So if you say yes, I think the arrest of Jesus was justified, because then you give the reasons why you think it was justified. I think it was justified because Jesus Christ is arrested because he had broken Jewish rules. He was preaching, he was healing people on the Sabbath. He was working on the Sabbath, which was against the Jewish laws. He was blasphemous, forgiving people sins, yet we know that it is only God who has the right to, as Jews knew that it was only God who had the right to forgive sins. So Jesus Christ was an imposter. He made himself God and equal to God. So that justifies his arrest. He gave himself authority even over the temple. That justifies his arrest. However, other people may think differently from that point of view. Now we are giving the different point of view. No, the arrest of Jesus Christ was not justified. Why was it not justified? He is arrested at night. Poor Jesus. Who arrests somebody at night? Night is supposed to be a time, a peaceful time, but this is the time when Jesus Christ is arrested. Secondly, he is arrested by a crowd. There are soldiers armed with swords and clubs, as if they have come to arrest a violent person. We have seen the life of Jesus Christ. We have seen him in his ministry. He's never violent at any point. But here is Jesus now arrested as if he is a robber. Yet he was a violent person. Yet he was not. So that does not justify his arrest. Okay, I hope you got that example.
Thank you very much, Nomfundo, and thank you very much for being with us. We hope that we'll see you again for another interesting religious education class.
I hope so too. If it was church, I will say if God permits.
All right, thank you, Nkosi. Up next, Form 3s, do not go anywhere. It's Putumile Dlamini who is doing the Form 3 English language class with Lerato Mabaso, and today, Form 3s, you are doing summary writing. Do not go anywhere. We'll be right back after this.
Labanengi labangenwa ligciwane lecorona bavame kuba netimpawu letingasito letimatima njengebuhlungu bemphimbo, kuphathwa inhloko, kushisa nekubanza, kukhwehlela lokomile, kuphefumula kalukhuni kanye nekudzinwa. Kepha kulabanye kuba matima njengoba leli gciwane lihlasela emaphaphu. Ngesikhathi umtimba ulwa nalo leli gciwane, wakheka emanti lagcwala emaphashini. Emaphaphu-ke angagcwala emanti akuphefumuleki. Lokhu-ke kubanga tingcinamba letinengi. Kuthi khweshisa kulabanye kuyasita ekunciphiseni kwanza kwesifo i-COVID-19. Hlala ekhaya ungahambi. Eswatini sibambisene kulwa nekwanza kweligciwane lecorona.
Nebekunene sibhekene nemkhuhlane lo matima kakhulu. Umkhuhlane we-COVID-19. Sisesikhatsini lapha wonke umuntu ufuneka atibuke yena ngokuthi ufuna kuphila yini noma ufuna kwentani. Uma ngabe ufuna kuphila kufuneka asukume aticabangele abone ukuthi yini lokufuneka yente. Sitamtshela ke thina ukuthi yini lokufuneka yente. Kufuneka ente lo lokushiwo nguhulumende la ku abambisene nelitiko letempilo lakamhlabuhlangene i-World Health Organization ukuthi bantu abahlale ekhaya, phuma endlini nangabe kukhona sidzingo lesimatima lesingetulu kwemandla longeke usichubele embili, sidzingo lesifana nokuthi sowuphuthuma kudokotela, sidzingo sokuthi mhlambe sekuphelene kudla endlini, ungakhona kuphuma. Ngaphandle kwaloko hlala endlini. Kwesibili sithi eMaswati akasite asebente indzaba yokuthi njalo na uvuka ugeze izandla uchubeke na usasebenza ugeze izandla ngesipho nemanti lahambako. Lokhu basitshela ukuthi kutawusita lempilo yokuthi legciwane lingakhoni ukuthuthuka liye embili ngoba lihanjiswa ngumuntu alindize emoyeni, lihanjiswa ngumuntu. Lokunye ngilokuhlala bucamama kunalomunye umuntu, ube bucala nje ungahlali edudane nalomunye ngoba bathi liyathathelwana ngaleyo ndlela. Kufana nalabo laba abanathe ebhodleleni linye. Mhlambe ngabe ninatha leso sinatho senu lesitawugcina sinijabulisa kanti sinibhekise kunibulaleni, akume lokho bekunene ngoba lokho kutazivetela tingoti. Lokunye lesikushoko ngikuthi ungayi lapha kunesicumbi khona ngoba ngilapha eticunjini lapha abantu batawuthola kona lo mkhuhlane bathelele labanye. Uhulumende ke solo wasebenta kuvikela sive nyalo sowufake indzaba yekuthi kube netimfonyo lesetifakwa kona uphuma endlini nangabe sikhona isidingo sokuthi usuke ekhaya kakho uye noma nguphi faka leso simfonyo kepha ungaseboleki lomunye umuntu noma ngabe umthanza kanganani noma ngabe usihlobo lesinjani na ungaboleki umuntu lomunye sifonyo lo sifakile wena ngoba awati ukuthi unani kungenteka bese uyamthelela noma ngabe bowati kepha nje akufanele kweboleka netimfonyo.
Eswatini sibambisene kulwa nekwanza kuligciwane lecorona.
Wash your hands. Scrub them while you sing this song. Wash. Move your hands and fingers in the places in between. Using soap and water makes your hands so clean. Wash your hands. Great job, you're almost done. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Taking care of yourself is also taking care of others. We're all in this together.
Welcome back, Form 3s, to the third subject of today. We are learning English language with Miss Putumile Dlamini. And along with me in studio are our sign language interpreters, Zanele Mota and Nompumelelo Hadebi. My name is Lirato Mabilisa, guys. That was a mistake. It's Mabilisa. Good afternoon and welcome to the show, ma'am.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me even today, Lerato.
How are you feeling today?
I'm very good, thank you. How are you?
I'm good. So what's today's topic and what would you like the viewer or the learner to have learned by the end of the lesson?
All right. Today's topic is basically summary writing. This is the last segment of our paper 1. So I actually want the learner to be able to understand what is a summary, understand the components that are needed when you are writing a summary, and also understand how do you write a summary. And at the end of the lesson, I have a bit of a homework for them to do when they're at home.
Okay. Form 3s, we are going to be learning another interesting subject today, which is English language, and it's going to be very interesting. So I hope you have your materials and I hope you will be participating. So ma'am, without wasting time, please take us through.
Thank you so much, Lerato. My dear learner, even today we are going to be learning about summary writing, and also for today's lesson I would like you to have your book, which is your New Language for Life book 2. And in this book I want you to open page 140 where you're going to find notes on summary writing. You may ask yourself, why summary writing? Why do we even need to use this skill? It's very simple. We find ourselves summarizing the day-to-day activities of our daily lives. For instance, you've gone to church, maybe your cousin didn't go to church, and your cousin is asking you what was today's sermon about. You are not going to tell them everything about the sermon, but you're going to pick highlighting details from your sermon and try to ensure that they actually get a picture or they actually get to understand what that sermon was about. So you find ourselves summarizing mostly every day in our lives. We summarize even when we are telling people about how our day was. For instance, someone may ask you, so how was your day today? You're not going to start telling the person from when you woke up and up until the time you went to sleep. But what you're actually going to do is you're going to pick those interesting moments or those saddening moments of your day and share with that person. When you do that, you are actually summarizing. So I already highlighted what I need us to actually understand for today's lesson, and we looked into that you are going to understand what is a summary. A summary is a shortened version. A summary is a shortened version containing key points in a few words as necessary. I want to go to make you to go back to what we did when we talked about explaining how your day was. I said that you are not going to start by telling the person, oh, I woke up this morning and maybe I went and I took a bath, or I brushed my teeth this morning. But what you are going to necessarily do is you are going to pick the highlighting moments of your day. In that way, you are practicing being specific. So you're going to be specific. So when you are specific, you will then shorten
the content of how your whole day was. So when you are doing that, you are actually summarizing. But we do not only summarize maybe when we are telling people about our days, or maybe when we are sharing how the sermon was, but we also find ourselves having to practice this skill, especially when you are writing your paper 1, exercise 5. When you are writing your paper 1, exercise 5, it is when you are now going to find yourself, or you are going to meet a question that requires you to master or to use this skill of summarizing. So this skill actually focuses on your ability to identify the key points, or to identify the main ideas. These are the ideas that are needed. These are the ideas that have been asked by the question. So you are actually going to now answer what you have been asked. So you are not just going to summarize whatsoever it is, but you are going to go to where the question wants you to be. So, in as much as you're going to be summarizing, you are also going to be then sequencing your points cohesively. When you are sequencing your points, it means you are now going to be trying to code and also ensuring that they follow a specific chronological format. And it also looks into your ability to articulate the content using your own language. My dear learner, we will not overemphasize the need of the learner to be an avid reader, because this is where your word bank is going to grow. So if you find yourself that now you are supposed to summarize, it is when you're now going to be fishing from your word bank, trying to articulate the idea that the author is trying to put, maybe using different words or using another terminology to mean the same thing. So it is very important for you to understand that when you summarize, you are going to use your own words. And you are also going to be writing your summary using a word limit. In most instances, they will ask you to write a summary of about 100 to 120 words. Or maybe the summary wants you to write maybe 70 words. It depends on what the question has said. But in most instances, it is up to 120 words. So you are going to be sticking to that word limit, meaning you're not going to write anything less and you're not going to write anything more, but you're going to stick to the word limit. It is very important for you to understand that. And now the summary question actually focuses on your ability to pick appropriate content and also to use language appropriately, or to use language correctly. What is the summary content? The summary content, it is what you have been asked to summarize about. I want to make an example. You are given an extract that actually talks about the dangers of COVID-19. And maybe they want you to summarize on how does a person contract a COVID-19. You are now not going to take the whole passage that speaks about COVID-19, but you are actually going to be specifically paying attention to the content that is required by the question. That is why I say this is what you have been asked to summarize about. You're not going to wander and start maybe looking at what happens when a person maybe is suffering from COVID-19, but you're actually going to look at how does a person get this dreaded virus. So as a learner, it is very imperative that you directly focus on the relevant point in your text. That is, you ignore other information that doesn't actually form part of the answer. Meaning that maybe, like I've made an example, you are given an extract that speaks about the virus COVID-19, and maybe the summary wants you to write on how a person can contract the virus. And maybe in your article, they talk about what is the virus, how a person can contract the virus, how do you avoid getting the virus, how can one get how do they try to ensure that they make sure that they control the virus. It is very important that, like I said, you stick to what you have been asked to summarize about. So you're going to ignore the other information, that is the definitions or the symptoms, and only focus on how does one contract the virus.
It is also important that you must understand that content means that the information that you're going to use is information that you will get from the passage only. You are not going to say, oh, I have read somewhere about COVID-19, maybe let me add something. No. You are only going to use the information presented only by the passage that you have. Meaning that, let's say you read someone and maybe you feel like you have an opinion that you want to share. You are not allowed to share your opinions there, because you are just going to be writing what you have been given in your text. So that's why I have also mentioned that do not add your own opinion on the information you are summarizing about. Let's make an instance. We are talking about COVID-19 and you feel like, oh my God, I just do not like the stage that we are in. You're not going to take that and write it into your summary, but you're going to focus on what the question has required from you only. And in your text, you're only going to focus on what the question has required from you only. Okay, so it is very important that you are straight to the point. I just want to remind the dear learner that in our previous lesson, we looked into what is tested from the learner. And we said that one of the things that are tested, one of the outcomes is that the learner is able to select appropriate information. And the learner is also able to differentiate between an idea, an observation, or effect. So it is very important to know that this is when now you need to show that I have mastered those skills. I have those outcomes, like they're in the palm of your hand. So it is very important that you are straight to the point and you only put in the main idea, the main gist. This allows you to then understand that because you are given a limited space, you are now going to chop off unnecessary information. That will be information that maybe examples or further elaborations, or let's say maybe it's repetition and direct speech, or all those minor details. You are now going to chop them off because you understand that this is the main idea that I just need to pick from this. And this idea is the idea that you are now going to use when you are writing your summary. Okay, the language. I had stressed earlier that it is important to articulate your summary using your own words. So it is very important that you use your words as far as possible. However, my dear learner, it does not mean that because you are using your own words, then it has to be out of context. So in as much as you are using your own words, remember that the message still needs to be the same. It is also important that to note that using your own words does not mean that the information conveyed should be distorted. You should now start giving something that the author did not intend to give. So it is very important that as you are trying to use your words, as you are trying to show the skill that I have mastered, maybe using synonyms, it is important that you use the appropriate synonym that fits the appropriate context. So it is very usual. You find that maybe a learner is writing something and they are trying to use their own words. You find that now they distort the message, which now makes you not to gain the appropriate mark because you have missed what the author was trying to convey. So ensure that in as much as you are using your own language, but it captures the gist of what the author wanted you to say. It is also important to note that it is allowed, you are allowed to lift from the text. What is lifting? Lifting, it is whereby you are taking information as is and using it in your text. But ensure that as you are lifting it, you have mastered that, you have gained that understanding. And lifting, I've said that lifting a few words. So you lift those words, especially there are words that you cannot just change. For instance, let's say as you are reading this that text, it uses specific jargon, and that jargon is used for that text specifically. So you cannot change and try to find another words, especially because there are some words that you cannot maybe find that this is the appropriate synonym for that word. So you are allowed to lift from that text. So I've also said that you make sure that you find precise words and you vary your word choice. So it is very important for you to understand that, because when you are using language, you must ensure that, in as much as I'm taking this word, does it really fit? Does it really give the appropriate idea? Does it really allow the person who's going to read to say, this was the correct message? Because when we summarize, we are trying to also convey the appropriate message. So how do you try to vary? You can try by using synonyms. What are synonyms? Synonyms are words that usually mean the same thing. But be careful. There are certain synonyms that do not actually capture the effect that the author had intended. So in that instance, if you feel that this word doesn't really capture the effect that the author intended, try not to then use that word. I normally like to use this example. Someone says, "You are gorgeous." And then you are trying to say, and you say, "You are cute." The intensity there is not the same. But if you say someone is gorgeous, then this person can be beautiful. Do you see that? So you have tried now to use the appropriate word that shares the same effect that the author had intended. So you try to actually use synonyms. Please note, dear learner, that if it happens that you feel like maybe your language will distort the message, it is allowed, you are allowed to use the words of the author as is when you are constructing your summary. And also, a summary is a bit different from what we have been doing, maybe because I've used the paper one. We have still been answering in short words, in phrases, in a word, in a number, in a sentence. But now when you are writing a summary, you are going to write it in continuous form, which means that you are not going to list like you are listing points, but you are going to ensure that you are writing it in a way that it forms a comprehensive paragraph. So dear Lena, I'm going to end there and we'll continue after Lerato has said something.
Ma'am, as interesting as the lesson is, I think the viewer at home, myself as well as you, need a water break. So we can continue with this interesting lesson. It's actually, I'm hooked to it. So viewer at home, we'll be back after this.
The basic protective measures against the new coronavirus. Wash your hands frequently and thoroughly with soap and water, or use alcohol-based hand rub. Maintain social distancing. Maintain at least 1 meter distance between yourself and anyone who is coughing or sneezing. Avoid touching eyes, nose, and mouth. Hands touch many surfaces and can pick viruses. Once contaminated, hands can transfer the virus to your eyes, nose, or mouth. From there, the virus can enter your body and make you sick. Practice respiratory hygiene. Make sure you and the people around you follow good respiratory hygiene. This means covering your mouth and nose with your bent elbow or tissue when you cough or sneeze. Dispose the used tissue immediately. If you have fever, cough, and difficulty breathing, seek medical help early. Stay home if you feel unwell. Follow the directions of your local health authority. Stay informed and follow advice given by your healthcare provider.
Hi, my name is Professor Shabang. I am an actor and a TV presenter. Coronavirus is a deadly virus, an invincible enemy killing people all over the world. We are not exempted, but together we can walk through and overcome as a nation. All we need to do is to follow the health precautions. Stay at home, stop the spread, and save lives.
Welcome back, viewer, to an interesting lesson indeed. We are still learning English language with Miss Putumide Dlamini for Form 3s, by the way. Miss Dlamini, there's a question from the learner, and they're asking if they should use full stops in summary writing. And another question says, are we supposed to use our own words, yet we're not supposed to add information? Please clarify that for me, ma'am. I think you can answer this one, not the first one.
Okay, you obviously are going to use full stops. You are writing in continuous form, like I had said earlier. Yes, this is a very good question. This learner is actually trying to say, I'm trying to change into maybe my own words, but I find myself adding extra information. Remember this, dear learner. You are not allowed to find yourself putting in information that the author did not intend to send. So you ensure that when you are trying to use your own words, you just capture the message that the author had as is. So you are allowed to use your own words, but make sure that you capture what the author was trying to say. If it happens that you've discovered that you find this maybe a daunting task, you can't change into your own words, you are advised to stick to the words of the author. Okay, now we are going to look into how do you write a summary. I said earlier we are going to use maybe our books in page 140. Please note that in this book you are going to be given there are certain tips that are written in the book. And you also have an article in this book and a question. So we are supposed to now try and see how then does one answer or write a summary. Firstly, it is important that you read the passage so that you can get a general idea of what that passage is about. Also, it is now very important that you read the question and you analyze it. We normally stress on the importance of question analysis. Why do we do that? It is because that sometimes the summary question comes in a variety of forms. For instance, there is a question that will require you to give details or a variation, looks or opinions on the same topic. For instance, a summary may ask you to write the causes and effects of something. So if a summary is asking you to write the causes and effects of something, it means that both those elements in your summary should be addressed. So it is very important that you may ensure that you have analyzed the question so that you do not find that you have addressed a certain aspect and you have left the other aspect hanging. Why is that very important? It's that if ever you have now included both aspects, you are able to get your full mark because you have shown that you have actually understood what the question had required from you. Sometimes the question may ask you to write the advantages and the disadvantages. It is also important that because you have analyzed, you will be able to capture what is good and what is bad in what the author is trying to show us. So read the question, analyze the question. After you have done that, go through your text paragraph by paragraph and identify the points that will now address the question. So this will enable you to try, or will enable you to see that this part of the article won't be actually required when you are writing your summary. So you are now going to now go word by word, paragraph, and understand that, oh, this is the point that speaks or that tries to answer the question. This is the point that also tries to answer the question. You then number your points as they appear. It's very important because it shows order. Remember, in one of the outcomes, as a learner, you are required to show that you are able to order ideas. So it shows order because it shows that you have also seen that, oh, this is the first point, this is the second point, this is the last point. And also, if your question wants you to take out double aspects, make sure that when you are underlining, you code. You can use maybe a letter to code. That is, you can write that, oh, this is A for advantage, D for disadvantage. So maybe this is 0.1 for advantage, 0.1 for disadvantage. So you can write 1A and 1D for disadvantage. This shows that you have been able to capture what the question wanted you to capture. Also, it is very important that you now transform your points into your plan, that is your rough draft. This will now allow you to apply the skill of trying to change into your own words. Please ensure this, dear learner, practice this at home. The more you practice changing a summary into your own words, it will get easier for you. But if you find that you have less practice, you will find this a very difficult task to do. So please try to make sure that you practice the skill of trying to change into your own words. You then try to draft it and make sure that you use linking words. What are linking words? These are the words that we use to show or to sew the pieces of our text together. We are trying to ensure that the person who is reading your work, they understand the flow, or they can flow through your reading. Words like firstly, secondly, in addition, furthermore. So when you use them, you are sewing your text detail by detail. And it is important that you use these linking words, correctly. Do not write firstly in your first point, then you say lastly in your second point. Ensure that you use them correctly so that when the person is reading your work, they are able to follow. If the question is showing the two sides, ensure that the person who is reading your work says that this is an advantage. Now, this is a disadvantage by using the appropriate linking words. For instance, we normally use the conjunction however to show that this is now a contrasting idea. So ensure that you use the appropriate linking words. Please ensure also that as you are using these linking words, you are creating one solid paragraph. Not two paragraphs, but one solid paragraph. The end product of your summary should be one paragraph. It should not be a listing of points. It should not be a number of different paragraphs, but it should give one paragraph. That is why it is important that you use your linking words so that it becomes an appropriate, unified paragraph that is easy to read and follow. Ensure that you also use language accurately. Look into the use of subject-verb agreements. That is, does your subject agree with your verb? For instance, we normally say that when you are looking at subject-verb agreement, singular subjects require singular verbs. For instance, you can say, the people are. But now when you are going to say, the people is, there is now a problem there. So ensure that you master and you use the appropriate subject-verb agreement. Also, use the appropriate conjunction. Like I had said that if you are going to show a contrast, use maybe the kind of linking words that show that I am now giving an opposing idea. The spelling should be appropriate. In most instances, spelling is provided for you as the learner in the article that you are going through. It is quite often, I will say, a bit of a crime for you to just take a spelling that you have been given in a text and write it wrongly, because the author has given you the liberty and has made you to be aware of how that word is spelled. So it is very important that you master spelling and you use the spelling correctly. And also punctuation. The question that was asked, are we supposed to use full stops? You might be amazed that it happens that other learners, when they are writing, they forget to put a full stop when it is an end of an idea. Then it makes a run-on sentence, like it's a group of run-on sentences with no ending. So ensure that you put a full stop where appropriate. And remember, we normally put a full stop to show that this is an end of a certain idea. After you have done that, you now ensure that you have written your points. It is one paragraph. Look into proofreading your work. Proofreading is very important, my learners, because this is what makes you to see that I have actually done justice to my work. I have actually tried to eliminate mistakes. I have actually tried to ensure that the spelling is correct. I have actually tried to ensure that the subject-verb agreement is also correct. So proofread your work. This is not something that you should do only when you are writing a summary, but in all your pieces of work, it is important to go back, revisit the written product that you have written, and ensure that this is appropriate, so that you also know that I have included all my points and I've tried to ensure that any mistake that I've made, I have corrected. So this will now take us to page 141 in our books. In our books, you have a text there that is written body under construction, teen cosmetic surgery. In that book, there is a question that I have here. Read the text about bodies under construction, write a summary of about 100 to 220 words on the reasons why more teenagers are getting plastic surgery these days. It means that in the body of the text, you are only going to identify points that touch only on the reasons why teenagers are getting more plastic surgery. So that is to say, if there is information that talks about the introduction of a plastic surgery, that information, you're going to ignore it. If there's an information that talks about the bad effects of plastic surgery, you're going to ignore that information and only pick points that will tell you why teenagers are using plastic surgery. In this body of text that we have here, we are going to actually go through the text together, and you also are going to see what I mean when I say you are now going to identify and code. I hope you are going to do this exercise together, dear learners. I'm just going to try and highlight these points as they appear in our books. So ensure that you have your book with you and you have opened page 141. We are going to code together and try to see that this is the relevant point or this is the relevant idea. Firstly, we have there the first paragraph. As I've run my eyes through it, it looks like it is giving me a history about plastic surgery and when it started. So when you are doing that, you are just now then going to go, what is it that makes teenagers to take a plastic surgery? It may be visibility, as it has been shown there. It may be media, as it has been shown there. So you're going to analyze those points and you're going to code those points. Dear learner, I am hoping that when you are at home, you are going to write this piece of work and ensure that as you have written it, look if your points are in order. Look at if your points are making a comprehensive paragraph. Are they within the word limits? Do you have mistakes? If you have mistakes, you're going to try and correct them. Are there places where you actually find that you have put in a certain example? Are there places where you have put in an extra elaboration? If there are those places, you are going to remove that, or through the places we normally call it ellipses. You are going to remove that and only stick to the basic and the main idea. So it is very important, dear learner, to understand that when we started this lesson, we looked into the whole objectives, the outcomes that need to be, as the learner, you need to have after we have done reading. And this summary writing exercise actually requires you to apply almost all these outcomes to show that reading has correctly taken place with you as a learner. Thank you very much, Lerato.
Okay, unfortunately, Form 3s, we've come to the end of our interesting English language lesson. Thank you very much for being with us today, ma'am, and thank you for the great lesson.
Thank you so much.
Okay, up next is Nogwazi Dlamini, who is going to be presenting the next Form 5 lessons.
Nine bekunene
live laseSwatini liyatimbazakanya nemkhankaso welitiko letemphilo namhlabuhlangene i-World Health Organization wekugcina tandla tihlantekile ngaso sonke isikhathi kuvikela kulomkhuhlane lokhona we-coronavirus. Tiningi ke tindlela longatisebentisa kutivikela kuleli gciwane le-coronavirus. Yinye yato lencomekako ukuthi uyisebentise ngaso sonke isikhathi kugeza tandla ngemanti lahlobile lahambako uphindze usebentise insipho ngaso sonke isikhathi. Uthathe isikhathi lesinganga 20 seconds kuya ku 40 seconds solo utigezisisa letandla noma ke usebentise isanitizer emanti angekho dutane nawe. Litiko letemphilo likanye namhlabuhlangene liluleka kakhulu sive ukuthi silandzele nati tinyathelo kuze ukuthi tandla tihlale tigcinekile tihlobile ngaso sonke isikhathi. Kumele umandise tandla takho ngemanti lahambako ushikishe insipho etandleni takho. Yenda siciniseko sekuthi ushikisha totimbili tandla ngalokwanele. Sandla sekudla sishikishe ngetulu kwesandla sesencele. Naso sesencele sishikishe sandla sesekudla. Utisebentise totimbili tandla kuze kuthi ugezeke kahle ngalokuphelele. Ushikishe insipho emkhathini wemino yakho netandla totimbili. Uchubeke ushikishe ngemuva kwemino yakho kuto totimbili tandla. Chubeka ushikishe tithupha totimbili shengathi uyatishwila. Usebentise imino yakho lesonzelene. Shikisha sandla emkhathini. Kubomake noma ke labo labanetingalo letinze kufanele bashikishe letingalo kuze kuthi emagciwane langabe ahleti khona nawo akhone kugezeka kahle ngalokuphelele. Utiyakate tandla ngemanti lahambako. Tesule tome tandla ngethishu noma ke ngendvangu lehlobile. Uphindze usebentise ithishu noma indvangu kuvala impompi. Yenda siqiniseko sekulahla ithishu endzaweni lapho ingeke kube lula khona ukuthi umuntu ayithinze. Nawe ungahlala unetandla letihlobile njalo njalo. Nginxusa onke emaswati ukuthi asukumele etulu. Sihlanganyele kulomkhankaso wekugcina tandla tihlantekile kuze kuthi sitawuvikela lesifo singasingeni kalula sisive. Siphindze sikhutsate bekunene ukuthi nebantwana labancane basitakale basitwe ngilabadzala ukuthi bagezisise tandla tabo tihlale tihlobile. Lokho kube ngumsebenzi wabo labadzala ukuhlala bahlobise abantwana babagezisise tandla kuze kuthi kungabi lula ukuthi bantwana bangenwe ngulomkhuhlane we-coronavirus. Kuhloba kwami yimpilo yami. Siyabonga.
COVID-19 is an infectious disease caused by a new coronavirus introduced to humans for the first time. It is spread from person to person, mainly through the droplets produced when an infected person speaks, coughs, or sneezes. These droplets can land in the mouths or noses of people who are nearby. These droplets are too heavy to travel far in the air. They only travel approximately 1 meter and quickly settle on surfaces. This is the reason person-to-person spread is happening mainly between close contacts. The exact time that the virus can survive on surfaces is not yet known. So it is wise to clean surfaces regularly, particularly in the vicinity of people infected with COVID-19. Hands touch many surfaces, which can be contaminated with the virus. You should therefore avoid touching your eyes, nose, or mouth, since contaminated hands can transfer the virus from the surface to yourself. When coughing or sneezing, cover your mouth and nose with the bend of your elbow or use a disposable tissue. If a tissue is used, discard it immediately into a closed bin. The most effective way to prevent the spread of the new coronavirus is to clean your hands frequently with an alcohol-based hand rub or soap and water. This will eliminate the virus if it is on your hands. Stay healthy and prevent the spread of COVID-19.
When we talk of screening, basically this is a preventative measure of finding out if there's any problem that may present as a result. So when you screen, you are trying to find out whether it exists or not, the problem. So in our case, the idea of screening is to ensure that everyone does not present with high temperature. So anyone who's presenting with higher temperature than usual is then picked up, and then from then on you'll then be tested to make sure that you have the virus or not. That is the main difference.
Eswatini sibambisene kulwa nekwanza kweligciwane le-corona.
A very good afternoon to our viewers who have just joined us, and welcome back to those who were with us from the beginning. I am Nogwazi Dlamini, and you are still tuned in actually to Eswatini TV, and this is Home Study. Right now it's the Form 5's turn, and we are doing mathematics with Mr. Zweli Mamba. Also joining us in the studio are our sign language interpreters, Tobile Fagutse and Linda Mamba. Zweli, how are you doing this afternoon?
I'm good, Gwazi. How are you?
I'm great, Zweli. I understand today we're doing coordinate geometry, right?
Yes.
All
exactly.
right. Okay, without wasting any time, sir, I think I'll let you start your lesson.
Okay, thank you, Gwazi. Viewers at home, I believe it's a good day. A special greetings to all the EGCSE mathematics learners. I hope you will enjoy today's lesson. It is a continuation of our previous lesson. Okay. So, the first thing that I want us to gather with us, make sure you have a pencil, a pen, a ruler, a calculator, your squared exercise book. Okay. Again, dear learners, maybe I can skip this. The importance of coordinate geometry is that we use coordinate geometry in construction, also in design. You see the buildings we have, when you look at them, they have different shapes, okay? And also the designs around your houses, they have different shapes. That is purely coordinate geometry, as it deals with different shapes and points and locations. So this concept is very important. So I hope you are ready now, dear learners, so we can continue. So the objectives for this lesson are 4. So these are the objectives. The first thing, you learners, you are expected at the end of the lesson to be able to find the gradient of perpendicular lines. Also, you should be able to show that 3 points are collinear. Also, you should be able to show that lines are parallel or perpendicular to each other. And also the fourth objective, dear learners, is that you should be able to use the general form of an equation of a straight line. So we have a general form, so we'll look into that. So let's start, dear learners. So here is our introduction. So my introduction, dear learners, is just to remind you, as you can see there, you have recall. So I want you to remember that the gradient, which is the measure of steepness, okay, we denote the gradient by a small letter m. So small letter m represent the gradient, okay. So this, you have covered this in your JC mathematics or your previous mathematics. That's how we find this measure, okay, that number. representing the steepness. Okay, again, remember we did mention that the bigger the absolute value, meaning that the number with ignoring the sign. So the bigger the number, the value of the gradient, okay, the more the steeper the line. Also, please remember we are here now, lines sloping downwards, they have a negative gradient. Okay, so we have this line as our example. Notice this line is sloping downwards. Remember, when we are reading, okay, when we are reading a sentence, we start from the left to the right. That's the same case with this line. So when we look at this line, we start from this left, okay, to the right. So from the left to the right, you can see that this line is sloping downwards. Okay, hence we say lines sloping downwards have a negative gradient. And also lines sloping upwards from left to right, as you can see, this line is sloping upward. It has a positive gradient. Okay, so it's just a reminder for you beautiful learners at home. Okay, so this is another reminder, dear learners. Can you be able to find the gradient of that line? Okay, I'm sure you can easily find the gradient of this line that I've given you, learners, line AB. So you can use this formula that you've covered in your previous mathematics. Okay, since we have what? 2 coordinates we are given, so we can just go substitute there. Remember, if we let this one be our first coordinate, this one the coordinate A, so we let the x coordinate of A be x1, the y coordinate to be y1. The other coordinate we let it to be because the second coordinate, the x coordinate, we let it to be y2, the y coordinate the x coordinate we let it to be x2, the y coordinate we let it to be y2. Then you can just go and substitute in that formula, then you should get your gradient as what? As -3. But learners, I want to show you another way of finding the gradient of this line, because I'll be using this way throughout this lesson. We can also find the gradient of this line, dear learners, by this. Remember, we said a line sloping downwards, it has a negative gradient. So this line is sloping downwards. You are reading it from left, remember, to right. So it's sloping downwards. So we know it has a negative gradient. So we can just put that negative. Okay. Then we can use the one of the formula that I show you, the one for rise over run. So we can come here. By rise, we mean the vertical distance will be on top. So what is this vertical distance that I've highlighted? It will be 4 minus 1, which is 3. Then you divide by now the run now. This, we call it the run. Okay, so what is this run? The horizontal distance, how do we get it? We say 2 minus 1, which is 1. So we divide by the run, that is 1. So you see our gradient, we get to the -3 in another pretty easy way, especially when we are given the graph, when the line is shown in a graph. Okay, let's continue. It was just a reminder. So again, another reminder, please remember that parallel lines have equal gradients. So we have those 2 parallel lines. Okay, those lines are parallel. We have that arrow showing that the lines are parallel. So we use the arrows to show that 2 lines are parallel. So when 2 lines are parallel, we say their gradients are equal. So always remember this, parallel lines have equal gradients from also your previous mathematics, your JC. Also, please remember the second bullet. We are here now. Lines parallel to the x-axis have a 0 gradient. Okay, so this line I've shown you here is an illustration. This line, it has a what? A 0 gradient, because it is parallel to this what? X-axis. So yes, all lines parallel to the x-axis have 0 gradient, and also all lines, the last thing, all lines parallel to the y-axis, they have a what? An undefined gradient, like this line here. This red line is parallel to the y-axis, so it has an undefined gradient. Okay, so I was just reminding you all those things. Okay, so now I'm sure we are ready to start at our new concept for Form 5 mathematics, for our HCSE mathematics. Okay, so this new concept is this concept of collinear points. So you have to know this is a new term, collinear. Probably it's a new term to most of you HCSE mathematics learners. First, let's define what collinear points are. So collinear points are 3 or more points that lie in the same straight line. So 3 or more points that lie in the same straight line, we say those points are what? Are collinear. Okay, so here is an example. I've given you those points there. You see there are blue points and red. There are blue points and red points. If I can ask you learners at home, which points there are collinear? Is it PQR or ABC? Is it point PQR or ABC? Okay, which points are collinear here? So I'm sure learners, you are struggling to tell which points are collinear now. Okay, but it is our task today to know how to check if points are collinear. We should have a way of showing that points are collinear. Okay, let me give you this other illustration here now. Again, we have these points. Now I'm sure it is easier at home for you to tell which points are collinear. Which points are collinear there, learners? Most of you, I'm sure they are saying it's point P, Q, and R because they lie on the same straight what? Line. So points lying on the same straight line, we say they are collinear. A, B, C, they are not. These 3 points, the red ones, okay, they are not collinear because they are not in the same straight line. So now there's something I want you to notice, because we want to know how to show that points are collinear. How can we show that? Using the idea of gradient, because we've been talking about gradient. So I want you to notice the gradient of the line joining PQ. What can you say about this gradient? The gradient of the line joining PQ compared to the gradient of the line joining QR. I'm sure most of you learners at home are saying we are expecting these two gradients to be what? To be equal. The gradient, we expect them to be equal because it's just the same straight line. Okay. So in short, what we are saying now, a line has a constant steepness. The steepness is constant. A straight line has a constant steepness. So if we are checking the steepness here, it should be the same throughout this line. So we can use that idea now to check if if 3 points are collinear. Okay, what we're going to do is, this is what we are going to do, learners. We find the gradient of PQ and also find the gradient of Q, of the line QR. If the two gradients, let's call this M2, M1. If the two gradients are equal, it means that those 3 points lies on the same straight line, meaning that those 3 points are what? Are collinear. It's just a piece of cake. So let's go back now and just do that. Okay, so here is a question. Here is a question now. Let's look at this question. Show that points P, Q, R are what? Are collinear. I want to know how to show if points P, Q, R are collinear. Okay, want to show if those points lie on the same straight line. Okay, so we get to the gradient of what? Of PQ. Check here, we get the gradient of PQ, and we also get the gradient of what? Of QR. Okay, check the gradient of PQ is half, and also you know how to get the gradient. Okay, so we also check the gradient of QR is also half. Because the gradients, okay, are equal, hence we say the 3 points are collinear because they have equal gradients. Okay. So I hope now we can continue. Learners at home, I'm sure you know what we mean by collinear points. We are saying if points are said to be collinear, they mean they lie on the same straight line. So please make sure you know that. And we can use their gradients to test or to show if points are collinear. They should have the equal gradients, okay? The line joining those 3 points. Let's continue now in our second sub-topic, which is gradients of perpendicular lines. Okay. Let's look at this picture or this graph here. I've given you 2 lines, line 1 and line 2. Okay. Notice these 2 lines are perpendicular, meaning that they meet at an angle of 90 degrees, as you can tell. Okay. We want to find the gradient of these 2 lines. So please do find the gradient of these 2 lines, learners at home, and see what you are going to get. I'll give it back to Gwazi now.
All right, Zweli, can we take a little bit of a breather, maybe just a water break? We'll be back just after a couple of minutes. Viewers, we'll be right back after this.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Professor Shabang. I am an actor and a TV presenter. Coronavirus is a deadly virus, an invincible enemy killing people all over the world. We are not exempted, but together we can walk through and overcome as a nation. All we need to do is to follow the health precautions. Stay at home, stop the spread, and save lives.
Kumelula ukuthi ligciwane lecorona lisuke kulomunye lingene kulomunye uma sitawusonzelana. Singasita sinciphise kwanza kwalo ngekuthi sikhweshelane. Lokhu kusho ukuthi singachawulani, singathinzani njengokuhagana nje. Tikhweshise ngesigaba lesiyimitha kusuka kulabanye. Kumcoka kakhulu kuhlala uhlobile nekuthi hlobisa uma uke waphumela kubantu. Ngekubambisana sitakumisa kwanza kwaleli gciwane sibe ngulabaphilile. Eswatini sibambisene kulwa nekwanza kweligciwane lecorona.
A very warm welcome to our viewers, and that was a much needed water break, as Mr. Mamba has just told me next to me. Mr. Mamba, I think I'll let you carry on with your lesson without wasting any time.
Okay, Gwazi. Viewers at home, welcome back. EGSE mathematics learners, let's continue. Okay, we want to start another topic now. It's a new concept for you EGCSE mathematics learners. We want to look at the gradient of perpendicular lines now. We know parallel lines, if lines are parallel, they have the same gradient. How about if lines are perpendicular? Meaning that those lines that meet at an angle of 90 degrees. Okay, so let's investigate that together. Okay, let's look at this example here with me. Learners at home, I want you to, you are given these 2 lines here. I want you to find the gradients of these 2 lines. You'll see that those 2 lines are perpendicular, so that we can investigate the relationship between the gradients of perpendicular lines. Okay, let's do it together. So find the gradient of this line 1 and the gradient of line 2. Okay, so I'm sure quickly the gradient of line 1, you can tell line 1 is sloping downwards. Okay, so it has a what? A negative gradient. We've mentioned that. Okay, then now what do we need? We need the value. The value is given by the rise. This is my rise. I'm marking over the run. That is the horizontal distance. So what is my rise? My rise, I can check there. My rise will be what? 2, and my run is what? Is here. The length of this line here, the horizontal line is 3. So hence the gradient of this line is what? Is -2 over 3. I'm sure you've got that one. You can also use the other method of getting to coordinate points that are along this line. Okay, and also the gradient of line 2 is what? Line 2, it's sloping upward, and it has a what? A positive gradient. So it is positive. And what is my rise? In the numerator we have a rise. Okay, what is my rise? My rise is 3 over, what is my run? The horizontal distance. My run is what? Is 2. Hence the gradient of this line is what? Is 3 over 2. Remember, we're investigating the gradients of perpendicular lines. So these two lines are perpendicular. Let's check their gradients. What do you notice? Check the gradient of these two lines, these perpendicular lines. What do you notice? Just keep it to yourself. Let's come here quickly again and do the same thing. The gradient of this line, what is it? Let's be faster now. We don't have the whole day. So the gradient of this line, it's negative. So it's sloping downwards. It's negative. Then the rise is what? Is 2 over the run, which is what? 1. So the gradient of this line is what? Is -2. How about line 4? This line. The gradient of this line is what? Is positive. So what is the rise? Is 1. The run is what? Is 2. Okay, so again, let's check these values. We want to check the gradient of perpendicular lines. Are you coming up with something? It's -2. The other one is 1 over 2. Okay, learners, I'm sure now we can go back to that example I said you can hold. Okay, what did you notice there? The gradient of those two lines, okay, this one is negative, the other one is what? Is positive. It's the same case even in our next problem here. The other two lines, the one is negative, the other one is positive. Okay, at least we know one is negative, the other one is positive. What else can we choose? Okay, let's look at the value. The signs now we are okay. The value now, the number without the sign. Let's check this one. Okay, okay, this one it's -2 over 3. So we want to check this value, 2 over 3. This side we have a 3 over 2. There's something we can note here. You see, those two fractions, they are what? They are reciprocals of each other. By reciprocal, we mean that this one is 2 over 3. The numerator is 2, the denominator is 3. The other side, we swap those two positions. Our denominator, this side was 3, that side it becomes our numerator. The numerator, this side was 2, this side it becomes our denominator. So we swap those positions, meaning that we reciprocate those fractions. Okay, so at least now we can conclude, okay? We've got something. So this is our conclusion, dear learners. Okay, we have noted those things. There's also one thing missing there. When multiplying the two gradients of perpendicular lines, we notice we get a constant, the same number, which is what? -1. Even the second part, we had -2.5. When we multiply those two gradients, we get -1. So we can conclude that this is what we can conclude now. This is our conclusion. If M1 and M2 are gradients of two perpendicular lines, these are the gradients of the perpendicular lines. So we expect when we multiply the gradients, we should get a what? A -1. The product of the gradients gives -1. Okay, and also here, if M1 and M2 are the gradients now of two lines, okay, and we see that when we multiply the gradient of the two lines, we get a what? A -1. We should be able to conclude that those lines are now what? Are perpendicular, because their gradients, they give you a what? A -1. So that's what we can conclude, dear learners. So it's quite interesting now. We've added something new We knew about the gradient of parallel lines. We didn't know about the gradient of perpendicular lines. Now we know the product of the gradients of perpendicular lines, they give you a -1. And also we did mention they have different signs. They are reciprocals of each other. I'll give you this quick questions now. Please enjoy those questions with me. Find the M2, the gradient of the other lines. Okay, you are given M1. Okay, you are asked to find M2. So the first thing we need to do, we have to check the relationship between the two lines. You can check those two lines. They are what? They are perpendicular. They meet at what? At that right angle. It shows that the two lines are what? Are perpendicular, this right angle. So since we know those two lines are perpendicular, we are given the gradient of one line. We are asked to find the gradient of the other line. What's the gradient of the other line, which is M2? Our M1 was 4, okay? Notice as a fraction 4 is just 4 over 1 over 1. I'm writing over 1 there. So the gradient of the other line will have a what? The first line is positive, so the second line will have a negative gradient. And the value 4 over 1, we reciprocate it and give what? 1 over 4. It means that M2 is equals to -1 over 4. Please quickly find out the gradient of M2. So the gradient of the other line in question 2 now. In question 2. What is the value of M2? M2, remember, it represents the gradient of this line, of the other line. Okay? Let me erase this. So what is the value of M2? I'm sure, dear learners, quickly now you can do this without using the formula. You just change the signs. This one has a negative gradient, so this one, the gradient will be positive. We don't write the plus. Okay? Then what do we do to the value? We reciprocate it. It's 4 over 7. So the gradient of this, the value of M2 is 4 over 7. How about M2 in number 3? Check first. Those two lines are what? They are parallel. Parallel lines, they have what? Very good. The same gradient. So those two lines have the same gradient. So M1 is 5. So M2 is also 5. In this case, check. M1 is 0. The gradient of this line, this horizontal line, is 0. What's the gradient of this vertical line? Obviously, this, I've said it in my reminder when I was saying recall, the gradient of vertical lines is undefined. One will say, when we want to write 0 as a fraction, we say 0 over 1. Then if we reciprocate this, we'll get 1 over 0. You cannot divide by 0. Hence, you'll come back to this conclusion that gradient has that line has an undefined gradient. These are the solutions to our previous problem. Now, here is another example. Find the gradient of the line perpendicular to the line with this equation. So, dear learners, what we have to do is we find the gradient of this line first. What's the gradient of this line? Okay, there's something, of course, you have to remember. This equation of a line, this is the equation of a line, is in the form y is equals to mx plus c. So, the number that multiplies x, which we call the coefficient of x, is called the gradient. Okay. So given the equation, it's easier to just tell what the gradient is. So the gradient here, you can just tell it's 3 from this, the coefficient of x. So now the gradient of a line perpendicular to this line with a gradient of 3 will have a gradient of what? I'm sure now it's easier. We'll have a gradient of negative because it's positive, that one. Negative, you reciprocate. 3 is the same as 3 over 1. So it's just 1 over 3. Okay, so you get the gradient of the other perpendicular line is negative 1 over 3, which is the same thing we get here using this equation. You can also use. Multiply the gradient, you should get negative 1. Then you make m the subject. Okay, let's continue. We are running against time. So this is our last topic. We want to look at the equation of straight lines. Okay, there's something that we know on equation of straight lines. I'm trying to be faster now. The equation of a straight line can be written in this form, dear learners. This is what you know. We have covered it. This form is called the gradient y-intercept form. Why? Because if you are given this equation, it's easier to spot the what? The gradient. M is called the gradient. And this C here is called the what? The y-intercept, as I've indicated here. Okay? Hence, this form is called the gradient intercept form. You already know that. Okay, so I want you to practice. Find the equation of this line below. Now, so you have to remember y is equals to mx plus c. So find the m, the gradient of this line. Okay, the gradient of this line is what? We have to have two coordinates. Okay, points that we can easily pick from this line. We can pick this one 0, 3 and 4, 0. Let's quickly get to the vertical distance and the horizontal distance. The vertical distance is what? So this line has a what? A negative gradient sloping downward. So it's negative. Vertical distance is what? We place it in the numerator. It's negative 3 over horizontal distance, which is our run, is what? Is 4. So we have negative 3 over 4. Then we can put back the x, then plus c. We say the c is the y-intercept. By y-intercept, we mean where the line crosses our y-axis. So where does this line cross the y-axis? At 3. So it means that we will have plus what? 3. Hence now we have the equation of this line here. Learners, is the equation of the line. Y is equals to the gradient here and the y-intercept. Okay. Notice this line, this equation of a line. We can rearrange it. Now this is something that is new again. The last thing that is new for you learners, we can rearrange this equation and write it in another form. This form, it's called the general form or the standard form. So let's look at this standard form. One, we have this term, we call that this term the term that is having x. And we call this term the term that is having the y. And this term, we called it this c, the c. We call it the constant term, meaning the term without x and y. It represents a number, c. We call it a constant representing a number. So let's rearrange this equation to be in this form. You should be able to do that, okay? So when rearranging that equation, what can we do, learners? I'm sure you see with the first thing, we have to clear the what? The fractions, because there are no fractions there. Again, please remember, normally a, b, and the c are integers, okay? So they are positive, they are whole numbers, so can be negative or positive. So the first thing, there we have a fraction, so we need to clear the what? The fraction. How do we do that? We multiply by the common denominator, which is 4. We multiply throughout by 4. In fact, we are multiplying both sides by 4. So what we are going to get is 4y. This is what we are going to get. 4y is equals to this 4, and that 4 will cancel. We are remaining with negative 3x plus what? 3 times 4 is 12. Then we can rearrange this to be in that form. Check that form. We are starting with the x, the term with having an x, following with the term having an y, and that side of the equal sign we have the constant term, the term without x or y. So let's rearrange this. It means that we have to take negative 3x the other side of the equal sign. So how do we do that? We can plus 3x both sides plus 3x both sides. So this goes. So now we have this equation now. Then we are going to have this equation, dear learners. Okay, when we rearrange, we are going to have 3x plus 4y is equals to 12. This is the equation, the general form. Okay, so because of time, I just need to conclude now. This equation, dear learners, is very important because that form we are introduced to is very important. This form is very important because it makes it easier to what? To find the x and y intercept, thus sketching linear graphs easily. Okay, such sketches are useful in linear programming. This topic you are yet to cover it, I think, even here, linear programming. So this idea will help you. So how we do that, in conclusion, what we do is the first thing we let x be, we can let y, let's start with y. It's up to you. You can start with y. Let y be equals to 0. Then now we want to have a coordinate. So if our y is 0, we have to find the x coordinate. So you substitute in this equation. Where there is y, you put a what? A 0, like we did here. 3x plus that will get, this will give us a 0, hence we are here 3x is equals to 12, we get what? X is equals to 4. Hence we have this coordinate. X coordinate is 4, the y coordinate is 0, we have 4, 0. So the next thing you do, you set now your x to be 0. Initially we set y to be 0, now x to be 0. We come substitute here. Okay, where there is x, you put a 0. We solve for y, sorry. We get to y is equals to 3. Hence, we have another coordinate. Notice now you just go and plot. You just go and plot. You will get this equation because of time. You will get this equation. Notice, sorry, you will get this line because we want to sketch a line. We want to draw the line quickly using that form. So we get to this line. Notice we have the y-intercept 0, 3. We've got 0, 3, and we also have the what? The x-intercept, which is 4, 0. Just from this general form. Just from this general form. Where is it? Yes. Just from this general form we are talking about, we can easily get to the x and y intercept. So here is a question you can enjoy at home. The problem, learners, we do not have the whole day. As I've said, I've run out of time. Okay, so please go to your Prism Alive, chapter 36. You get more questions. Try and practice. You should be happy.
Thank you very much, Azweli. And like you said, we have actually run out of time. We hope to see you again for another interesting Mathematics from 5 lesson.
Yeah, hope so. I will see you soon.
All right,
Yes.
Thank you. From 5s, do not go anywhere. I will be right back with Winnie Lamini for an English language from 5 class. We'll be right back after this.
Wash hands now. Wash hands now. Wash hands now. Wash hands now. Hand washing is one of the best ways to keep from getting sick and staying healthy all the year long.
Ligciwane le-corona lincane kakhulu, angeke ulibone ngemehlo enyama. Kuze liphile lidzinga kunamathela kubantu. Leli gciwane lingena melula emphumulweni, emlonyeni kanye nasemehlweni. Ligciwane le-corona alikhethi, lingesuka kithi thine bantfwana liye kubatali kanye nabothishela. Lisengesuka kubo litekithi. Indlela yekulimisa leli gciwane kulivimba kuthi lisuke kulomunye liye kulomunye. Uma umuntu athimula noma akhwehlela, leli gciwane lihamba kanye nalamathonsi laphuma kuloyo muntu. Uma uthinta lapho athimulele noma akhwehlelele khona.
Welcome back to our viewers. You are still tuned into Eswatini TV and this is Home Study. And if you have just joined us, where have you been? We are doing Form 5 English language, and already joining me in the studio is Winnie Lamini, who is the Form 5 English language teacher. Also joining us in the studio are our sign language interpreters, Zanele Mota and Nompumelelo Hadebe. Winnie, how are you this afternoon?
I'm very well, thank you, Nogwazi.
I'm good, thank you. You didn't even ask me, and there I am saying that I'm good. All right, I understand today that we're doing effective descriptive writing.
Yes, of course.
All right, without wasting any time from 5s and Winnie, I'll let you start your class.
Good afternoon, dear Form 5s. Today we are looking at one genre that you are asked on your paper 2. We are doing descriptive writing. You will recall that from my last class, I had mentioned that for you to get the mark that is desired, for you to get the mark that you're longing for, you have to write effectively. So what you're going to do today is to look at the tools that will enable you to write a good descriptive piece. And we're going to do that in context. We're going to read a passage together, analyze the passage, and try and pick out those descriptive tools that have been used. So I want us to start off by asking ourselves, what must you do when you're describing? Number one, when you are asked to describe, you are being asked to paint a clear and realistic picture using words. Note this word. You are painting a clear and a realistic picture using words. Why is that important? Your reader must see whatever you are describing. Remember last lesson I said, when you're writing, you do not tell, but you show the reader. So whether you're being asked to describe a person, you are being asked to describe a place, you are being asked to describe an event, the reader must imagine, the reader must see the object of your description. What else are you supposed to describe? You are supposed to give the reader what we call a tangible experience of whatever you are describing. A tangible experience. Allow them to experience the event in absentia. They were not at the wedding, but the manner in which you describe the wedding, they are transported in their imagination into the wedding. How do you do that? How do you give the reader a tangible experience? You employ the what? The 5 senses. Other books will say appeal to sensory detail. They are talking about the what? The 5 senses. Dear learners, we know what the 5 senses are. So when you engage the 5 senses in your description, you are allowing the reader to do what? To have that experience. How else, or rather, what else do you need to do when you are describing? Make sure you show the object of the description. When we are saying show, what are you trying to achieve? You are drawing the reader to the scene. You are drawing the reader to the person, if it is a person that you are describing. You are also allowing the reader to interpret what is happening. What do I mean when I say allow the reader to interpret? The reader must feel the aura of the event, if it's an event that you are describing. For instance, they say you are describing an exciting wedding. You allow the reader to feel the zest of the wedding, the flamboyance of the wedding. I want to sense it. I want to feel it as if I was there. Remember, this is an examiner or a marker who is engaging with your script, but you have allowed the marker to interpret what you have written by doing what? By showing the reader. How else do you describe? A recall to last lesson, you employ well-chosen verbs, you employ adverbs, you employ adjectives, that's what we call similes, we use what we call metaphors, we use alliteration, we use what we call onomatopoeia. These are just a few devices. They fall under the class of what? Figurative language. Remember what we said, figurative language is language of color. It enables you to say something in a what? In a very clear way. But at the same time, you are very succinct. You are very brief. But in that brevity, the picture is very clear. Dear learners, what I want us to do now, we are going to read together the description of a busy city center. I want to contextualize our lesson today so that you see all these descriptive tools, effective descriptive tools at work. Just imagine You've been asked to describe a busy city center in the morning. What is in this question? It's a busy, there is the instruction, there is the prescription. The instruction is you are describing. The prescription is it is a busy city center. Not any other, but it is busy. Which means I needed to see it alive. I need to feel the energy. I need to hear the elation of the city. The city must be a character on its own. That is only then where you can feel you have adhered to the what? The prescription of the question. And it says in the morning, now which gives you the what? The setting. That is the time where they require what? To picture, to experience, to feel the city. Let us read together, dear learners. At the crack of dawn, Monday City Center is already astir. Multitudes from all walks of life are flooding the city like an invasion. Movement is a serious difficulty, either from the engrossed office worker or the hasty student who strides through the crowd with much determination. Everyone is entranced in the hustle and bustle of the city center. Ordinary conversations here are almost impossible because of the grinding wail of the taxis. Also, not to be ignored are the repeated chants of less fare, more fare, and the triumphant whistles that come from the young, energetic bus conductors as they try to entice the commuters. The entire atmosphere is magical and pulsating. What do I want us to do now, dear learners? I want us to look at the descriptive tools that are at play in this passage. Let's take, for instance, imaginatively, the question says you are describing a what? A busy city center in the morning. You are not ignoring any word in that question because that is what the marker is expecting at the end of the day. You are describing, create a picture of a vibrant city. Create a picture of an energetic city. It cannot be busy unless it is what? It is crowded. So we want to see the crowds. We want to see the multitudes that are what? That are in the city. Let's look at the devices now that were at play in the passage. The writer here first says, at the crack of dawn. Form 5s. Language prowess, language acumen is very important at your level. Don't just say, in the morning, the city is very, very busy. How busy is busy? But the writer here says, at the crack of dawn. What is that? That is an idiom. So you're showing your reader, you know figures of speech. You know how to spice your writing. What does it mean to say at the crack of dawn? Now you know it's at the what? At the break of day. The city is astir. Now look at the usage of that adjective. The city is astir. The city is alive. The city is abuzz. There's commotion. There's movement. There's energy. So the reader can what? Imagine that city. Already from the beginning, you have adhered to the what? The prescription from the examiner. Busy city. We want to see that energy. He continues to say multitudes, which is a noun. Instead of saying many, many people. How many is many? Many is very subjective. To one person, 10 can be many. To the other, 20 can be many. But the moment you use the word multitudes, definitely I am imagining what? Crowds. He says multitudes flooding the what? The city. Here is implied language here. When you say multitudes, you know it's what? Crowds. But there's something else that is implied in that usage. You are imagining what? Commotion. Because you cannot have multitudes that are just stationary. Multitudes that are just zombies. So there is movement, there is commotion. You see, you're already now adhering to the requirement. It is busy. Then there is the verb phrase, flooding the city. Flooding the city. You have an image there. You image an image of overwhelming quantities is created. The reader can visualize. The reader can see how the town is like. The writer moves on to say, like an invasion. There is a what? A simile, figurative speech. It's a comparison. The image of an influx is created about the city. Yes, Nogwazi?
Sorry, I'm so captivated with your lesson. But can we take a little bit of a break, maybe a water break for you? We'll be right back after this, viewers. The basic protective measures against the new coronavirus. Wash your hands frequently and thoroughly with soap and water, or use alcohol-based hand rub. Maintain social distancing. Maintain at least 1 meter distance between yourself and anyone who is coughing or sneezing. Avoid touching eyes, nose, and mouth. Hands touch many surfaces and can pick viruses. Once contaminated, hands can transfer the virus to your eyes, nose, or mouth. From there, the virus can enter your body and make you sick. Practice respiratory hygiene. Make sure you and the people around you follow good respiratory hygiene. This means covering your mouth and nose with your bent elbow or tissue when you cough or sneeze. Dispose the used tissue immediately. If you have fever, cough, and difficulty breathing, seek medical help early. Stay home if you feel unwell. Follow the directions of your local health authority. Stay informed and follow advice given by your healthcare provider. Welcome back, viewers. We are still tuned in to Eswatini TV, and this is Home Study. We're doing Form 5 English language. Winile, I'll let you carry on with your lesson.
Thank you very much, Nogwazi. Dear learners, we are continuing. Remember, we are looking at descriptive tools at play in the short passage, 2-paragraph passage that I read to you about a business city center. The writer continues to say, there is a what? There is an engrossed office worker. Engrossed is a what? An adjective. The adjective qualifies office worker. So what do you picture? You picture a preoccupied office worker. You picture an absorbed office worker. Somebody can ask, how is this person absorbed in a place where is what? Where there's commotion, there is movement. It means the city is always like this. It's not perturbing to anyone who is in the city to see so much energy and so much movement. So everybody is minding his or her own business. This character can be able to be engrossed and be absorbed in this whole drama that is surrounding him. He continues to say there is a what? A hasty student. Another what? Adjective. Picture what? The student is rushing. The student is hurried. The student is moving. Also, he or she is minding his or her own business. Look at the student. She strides through the crowds, not just walking. Dear learners, don't just say a character walks through the crowds. There are different ways of walking. Be specific when you describe. So when he says the student is striding, so he's taking those agile steps within the what? Within the crowd. You can picture the determination in the student. She is focused, though there's what? There's so many people around the student. We continue, dear learners. Everyone is entranced in the hustle and the bustle of the city. Look at the choice of the verb. Entranced. When you're entranced, it gives you the picture, the people are nabbed. The people are caught. There is a feeling of what? Incarceration. They are caught up in this action-packed environment that they are in. It's a chaotic environment. It is enchanting. It has that effect upon them. Hustle, bustle, an idiomatic what expression. You can see it's like it's traffic, you know, automobile kind of traffic, but you're talking about what? People, from the what? The idiom that you have used. And then there's the what? The grinding wail of the taxes. Grinding wail. When I say grinding wail, you can kind of hear the noise of the what? Of the taxes. It's called what? Onomatopoeia. Sounds, words that are used to depict the sound. So the reader can hear. I wish I could grind, you know, for you. I could sound like a taxi that is grinding. But I hope, dear Lena, you can picture, you can hear even the what? The sound. That deafening sound with a prolonged rumbling. That is what happens in a what? In a city center. And then we move on, dear Lena. There are repeated chants from the bus conductor. Repeated chants. What does that show? There's a sense of vibrance in the atmosphere. It's noisy, but there's something about these bus conductors. They are not apologetic. They are not docile, but they are moving with the groove of the city as well. Repeated chants. And then there's this pun here. Less fair, more fair. Less fair, more fair. It's called a pun. It's what? A figure of speech. Play of words. It's like the bus conductor is saying, come board my bus. I'm going to charge you less. You know it's not going to be like that. But it's the way, the strategy that bus conductors use. So you put all those things. A pun is used to do what? Manipulate the emotions of the people. And you will see it the most in titles of newspaper articles. You see the article, the headline of the article, you go buy the newspaper, you find that the story is a bit, you know, not exactly as the article, you know, implied. It's called a what? A pun. How else? Also in the passage, we have this triumphant whistles. These are not ordinary whistles. My dear learners, we've been to a city center. We've had bus conductors doing those whistles, doing those chantings, and they capture your what? Your attention. So triumphant whistles. These bus conductors are what? They are elated. They are jubilant. They are energetic. It creates that electric atmosphere. So you can visualize, you can sense them. You are together with the what? The bus conductors. It's called a what? Personification. The whistles are triumphant. You know, you can sense the excitement, the exuberance in the way they do what? They whistle at the city center. The writer continues to say, the bus conductors are young and energetic. It's an appropriate description. You wouldn't expect such jubilance, such energy from old bus conductors. So they are young, they are energetic. It adds to the what? The zest of your description. It adds to the what? The agility of the description. Yet the city is alive. Combis grinding wails. The people that are in the city, they are alive. Even the bus conductors themselves, the entire aura of the city. It what? It answers to the prescription. A busy city center. What do we learn from this, my dear learners? You don't just pick characters randomly. So you have to be careful when you add the characters. If I put the bus conductors, what kind of energy are they going to bring? If I add the kumbis in the description, what kind of energy are they bringing into the what? Into the description. You are being more what? Strategic. At the end, the prescription must be met. And then the last sentence of the passage says, the entire atmosphere is magical and pulsating. It's like a concluding sentence of the aura you were creating in those paragraphs. Magical. It has that incarceration when you feel like you are spellbounded, you are nabbed by the atmosphere. It's magical, it's pulsating, it's dynamic, there is energy in it. So these two paragraphs, my dear learners, we have adhered to the requirement of the task. Busy city center. What challenge does it impose on us, dear learners? The level of your language. The manner you describe things. You have to do up your vocabulary. Have the precise vocabulary to do to describe the things you are required to describe. You can continue now the description and move on to to other aspects of the city center. But what is important here is the life that we want to see, the energy that we want to see, the exuberance that we want to see about the city. Allow somebody who's never been to a city center to say, wow, even bus conductors behave like this. Even Kumbis, this is what you hear from the Kumbis. Even the people that are in the city center, this is how they behave. That is what is required. Adherence, very strong adherence, my dear learners. Create that atmosphere. Be it an event, be it a person, be it a place that we are being asked to describe. Other questions will ask you to describe in context. For instance, you'll say, now write a description about a wedding that you attended. I hope you can realize now the task is embedded in a narrative. But the question does not say gravitate now just solely into the narrative mode. They are saying tell a story but remain active in the way you describe. It's a wedding you attended. I must feel the wedding. I must see the wedding. I must imaginatively touch the wedding. My sensory detail must be engaged. I must, at the end of reading that description, I must be able to say, wow, what a wedding it was. Why does a reader respond or react in that way? The manner in which you have described.
Thank you very much, Renila. That was a very interesting and captivating lesson. Unfortunately, we have run out of time. We hope to see you again for another very interesting English language lesson.
Thank you very much, Nogwazi. Thank you very
so
much. See you next time.
See you next time, definitely. Viewers, me and Lerato will be right back after this.
Kumelula ukuthi ligciwane lecorona lisuke kulomunye lingene kulomunye uma sitawusonzelana. Singasita sinciphise kwanza kwalo ngekuthi sikhweshelane. Lokhu kusho ukuthi singachawulani, singathinzani njengokuhagana nje. Tikhweshise ngesigaba lesiyimitha kusuka kulabanye. Kumcoka kakhulu kuhlala uhlobile nekuthi hlobisa uma uke waphumela kubantu. Ngekubambisana sitakumisa kwanza kwaleli gciwane sibe ngulabaphilile. Eswatini sibambisene kulwa nekwanza kweligciwane lecorona.
Welcome back to our viewers. We have run out of time and that was the last lesson for the day. And just to remind you, we have tomorrow's timetable and tomorrow this is what we have for you. Grade 7s, Form 3s and Form 5s. I hope that you are ready for tomorrow's lessons. This is the timetable. So tomorrow we have English language for grade 7 from 2 p.m. until 2:30 p.m. Then we have mathematics for Form 3 from 2:30 p.m. until 3:08 p.m. Then we have literature and English for Form 3 from 3:08 p.m. until 3:45 p.m. Then we have Siswati for Form 5 from 3:45 p.m. to 4:25 p.m. Then we have biology for Form 5 from 4:25 p.m. till 5 p.m. Lerato, please remind our viewers about our social media platforms.
Dear viewer, our social media platforms are as follows. We are live from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. every weekday on your YouTube channel, on our YouTube channel, and as well as Facebook. So if you did not catch up on today's lessons, don't worry, we got you guys. YouTube, we were live there, so you can always catch up.
Yes, you can catch up on the episodes that you have missed. Also, to remind you about our WhatsApp number, you can feel free to ask any questions that you might have. All right, then it's from us actually, and the team. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye.